Hi everyone, it is Sunday, nearly 7 p.m. on the 25th of October, keeping in mind that the US elections are about 8 or 9 days out. Now, having a look at gold. So I spoke about this before. My expectation originally was for gold to do a minimum retracement to 1800, which would put it at about a 382 retracement on the monthly. We started that process and we never really continued down towards 1800. It's now sort of headed up. It's produced a slightly lower high, looking a little bit bearish, and it's just hovering around this 1900 level. So this kind of, to me, supports the idea that effectively gold is treading water. I still would prefer to see it come down to connect with 1800 as at a minimum, if not down towards 1650. So that might be something that I look at this week, which means that if that is the case, one of the things I'm going to be having a look at or keeping an eye out for is to see it break the previous lows, which puts it about below 1880. If it does that, then I'm going to be expecting a further downside. And again, the idea of it range bound until the 3rd of November, or at least the 4th or 5th, even as there is a possibility that it might not even be an election night, might even potentially turn out to be election week. And so looking to see if that is ultimately going to be the case, if it is going to head further down or range bound. But yeah, certainly I think it's a reasonable idea for it to come down a little bit further. Having a look at silver. Silver has also produced a lower high. So what would I do if gold or silver started to produce high lows and continue to push higher? Then of course, yes, if we back over these levels of support and resistance, then I would start to look for positions to the upside. But it's just that I don't feel we've had a proper retracement, and I also feel that the markets, if they really were that bullish and they really were that strong, they would just be trending better than they are at the moment. Copper, however, I really do like the look of this. I'd like to see this pull back into 3.08 level, produce a bullish candle this week, and produce a buying opportunity there. It's not overextended on the weekly. It's not that ridiculous on the monthly. And actually, this could provide, there could be a potential buying opportunity here. I think with the just general uncertainty globally, I'm probably going to reduce my risk on this because the market is just much more unpredictable. But usually that would be a solid kind of setup for me. Then having a look at platinum. Platinum is now kind of trying to push a little bit higher. You can just see that rejection of the highs, then an indecision, sort of large indecision candle, then a bullish candle at the moment, although it has a lower highs, low lows on the weekly. Just a mishmash of emotions and feelings, doesn't really know what it wants to do, so I'm just cautious on that. Platinum is continuing to creep to the upside. I've spoken about this in the past, that monthly trend looking really nice and bullish, but it's just being kind of very tricky to trade on the lower time frames. It's incredibly volatile. I still anticipate nothing wrong here. It's definitely going to encounter resistance at the 2,500 levels. There's no doubt about that being resistance up here. However, continuing to expect reasonably, I think, and rationally expecting this to continue to climb to the upside. Then having a look at West Texas, as well as Brent and Light. That longer term trend for me still being very much to the downside. That weekly trend just being a mess. Of course, range bound, completely range bound. The daily just being a mess. So I'm looking to see if price will head lower, break below the $40 mark this week and head down towards $37. That's what I'm looking for. Effectively, Brent as well, looking quite weak. It's quite interesting. It's got quite a few buyers below this level, keeping it above that level, but it doesn't have enough buyers above this level at this point in time. And certainly that longer term trend to the downside, excuse me, may very well continue to unfold. So basically, in terms of trading opportunities for intraday opportunities, there's just not a lot that really looks good for me. I like the look of copper. Gold, I might then watch, and if a trend does start to form, breaking up fresh highs or fresh lows on that, I'll keep an eye on it. But when it comes to oil, oil is just a nightmare. It's just this is just screaming, stay away from me. And it has no clear direction on the daily, and a longer term downtrend to the downside, and the weeklies are just range bound. So nothing but for me right now to just absolutely stay away from oil. And as I said, I'm still leaning towards it heading lower on in the longer term, and so that may well be the case here. What would it take for me to invalidate that? I'd need to see it starting to break above the previous highs on the weekly, break out of that range on the weekly, and start pushing up towards and breaking above monthly key levels. Then I would start to shift towards a more bullish outlook. But at the moment, there just isn't enough evidence to support that. Everything actually looks as though it's more bearish than anything else.